God wants you first to discover you. When you discover you, then you will automatically, as soon as you meet your mate, you will automatically know who they are. You will. Yeah. You won't need to be told. And in fact, if God tried to tell you, you wouldn't even need God to tell you. So anytime you're asking before then, it's because of an addiction.
And you wouldn't doubt it at all. If somebody asks you a question, you wouldn't doubt it. You'll just know it's you.
If you're in the state like this, so you get to develop yourself to where you get rid of these intergender emotional issues and you develop you to the point where you're in the fifth sphere, nobody needs to tell you. Now, it's interesting because you can actually discover who your soulmate is as spirit without doing that. Right? But it's not in your best interest, or theirs probably, to know. And the reason why that is the case is because frequently a person who's shown the way to discover who their soulmate is, and they discover it, they get together instantly, they have a big fling, and then there's a lot of very hard emotions that start coming up, which they haven't dealt with, relating to their father and their mother and their gender issues and everything else. And the average person at that point goes into a meltdown, and such a meltdown that they reject their mate, and they reject them for much longer than they would have otherwise, because of the rage and the other feelings they have. Right? And so oftentimes it leads to, like, soulmates could get together early. God designed it so that soulmates should get together by the time you're in your 20s. You would know who your soulmate is and all that stuff. God's designed it so that most children would know by the age of 7, actually. But unfortunately, because of the injuries, that doesn't happen generally on earth at all. Even though the soulmates are often born in the similar vicinity, they're often born within, like I said to, what was a group in Canada, within 50 to 100 k's of kilometres, 1,500 miles of each other. They're often born, apart, and yet the average person, and the average person even meets them frequently, but still doesn't know who they are. Yeah. If you do, well, that's good, but I would question, are these things dealt with? Right? Because if they're not, you are very prone to error on the issue. And if you have a demanding view towards the partner, the person you believe is your soulmate, for him to get on board, or she get on board, which we know many people have done, then that is a very unloving thing to do to another person, right? To go up to them, you're my soulmate, we're going to get together. And in fact, the majority of people would be repulsed by that action because their free will is not involved, right? Naturally, they'd find it repulsive. It's not the way to handle your soulmate, even if you know who they are. Yeah? So, where all of you are actually at the moment, forget about your soulmate for a bit. Focus on dealing with your sin first. You deal with your sin, it'll become naturally apparent to you who the other half is, because you have discovered who you are. Does that make sense? And if you're in a partnership, don't break up just because you don't know whether you're soulmates or not. Work through your issues, right? Don't avoid working through the issue. If you're not in a partnership, get some opposite gender friends. If your attraction is the opposite gender, get some opposite gender friends, and hopefully ones who will work through some issues. Right? And I don't mean have sex with them, I mean work through the issues. What do you feel about the opposite gender? Why, what I feel from most of you women in the audience is you have no interest in men at all. There's a couple who do, but the majority of you do not. Right? Now, given the fact that the majority of you are, your soulmates are male, that's going to be a problem. Yeah? going to be a problem for your future. Work through those issues. Work through the sins. Because they're all sins, right?